Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a topic that, frankly, carries a lot of anxiety, but also a tremendous amount of hope. We're looking at the first of their kind, internationally co-created clinical guidelines for managing pregnancy and childbirth in people with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome, or hEDS, and hypermobility spectrum disorders, or HSD. If you, or maybe someone you care for, is navigating this journey right now, you know exactly how crucial having the right information is. Let's just address the elephant in the room right away. It's a super common, totally understandable fear if you're an expectant parent with a connective tissue disorder. Is childbirth inherently dangerous for people with hypermobility? You know, it's a question that honestly causes immense stress. Well, the resounding answer from the latest research is no. Childbirth with HES or HSD is absolutely manageable, but, and this is a huge but, it demands strict adherence to a highly specialized evidence-based playbook. The physiological baseline here is just fundamentally different, right? And the clinical approach absolutely must reflect that to make sure we're getting a safe, empowering experience. Now, to build this playbook, experts didn't just guess. They evaluated studies covering a staggering 1.2 million participants. That's a massive undertaking. They combined all that data with expert consensus from clinicians and patient advocates worldwide to bring these deep-rooted clinical guidelines to life. So here's our chronological playbook. We've got 1. hEDS intrapartum risk assessment, 2. Preparing for anesthetic challenges, 3. Managing precipitous labor, 4. Safe positioning in joints, and finally 5. Vaginal birth and tissue care. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, hEDS intrapartum risk assessment. A really fascinating factor right out of the gate is the role of a natural hormone called relaxin. Now, in any pregnancy, relaxin's job is to increase joint flexibility. But for someone with hEDS, who already has excessive joint laxity, this hormone significantly exacerbates their baseline instability. It basically means joint protection isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely paramount throughout the entire birthing process. Alongside joint laxity, we've got to talk about blood and tissues. Folks with hEDS typically have fragile capillaries, predisposing them to bruising. Plus, there's an increased and prolonged bleeding risk, often due to platelet function abnormalities. So the really crucial takeaway here is that providers have to proactively anticipate this. Having specific pharmacological interventions on standby to help the blood clot, stuff like desmopressin or tranexamic acid, is just a core part of this playbook. Moving right along to Section 2, preparing for anesthetic challenges. When we contrast a standard epidural with the reality for an hEDS patient, we see some pretty major differences. Patients with hypermobility often show local anesthetic resistance. That means they might actually require higher doses just to achieve pain relief. And on top of that, because of their connective tissue fragility, they face an increased risk of a cerebrospinal fluid or CSF leak following a spinal puncture. So what's the actionable checklist for anesthesiologists? First, anticipate the need for those higher doses of local anesthesia. Next, if a CSF leak does occur, providers should consider an earlier prophylactic blood patch because healing is so complex in these patients. Also, for patients with comorbid POTS, which is super common, an epidural is heavily preferred over a spinal block because it's way less likely to cause sudden drops in vascular resistance. And finally, if general anesthesia is on the table, be ready for a difficult airway due to TMJ dysfunction and potential cervical spine instability. That brings us to Section 3, managing precipitous labor. Take a look at this striking statistic, 28 to 36%. The data shows that up to 36% of these births result in precipitous, incredibly fast active labor. Literally, that means the baby arrives in under 3 hours once active labor actually kicks in. It's kind of the ultimate hurry up and wait scenario. Patients often experience a protracted latent phase, a very long prodromal or false labor. But the second it shifts into the active stage, it accelerates rapidly, culminating in that precipitous birth. Because of this extreme speed, coupled with the tissue fragility we just talked about, there's a serious risk of severe perineal trauma. So immediate and vigilant observation for postpartum bleeding is an absolute must. All right, Section 4, safe positioning and joints. To really protect the patient during delivery, clinical teams have to actively monitor and support virtually every major joint. We're talking head, neck, shoulders, back, hips, knees, and ankles. Because of that joint laxity, weight distribution can be a real struggle. The playbook strongly demands the use of positioning aids. Think wedges, exercise balls, pillows, and it insists that the clinical team listens closely to how the birthing person feels they can safely move their body. The whole goal is to prevent traumatic subluxations or dislocations while positioning for delivery. At our final section, Section 5, vaginal birth and tissue care. Now, there's a lingering myth out there that all HEDS patients automatically require a cesarean section. Let's clear that up right now. That is absolutely not true. The guidelines explicitly state, physiological vaginal birth is clinically preferable where there are no obstetric contraindications. This should really empower patients to know that, generally speaking, a vaginal delivery is actually the safest preferred route. Let's break down when each method is actually appropriate. For vaginal births, spontaneous pushing is highly preferred over directed pushing, and any instruments need to be used with extreme caution. A cesarean birth, on the other hand, should really only be reserved for standard obstetric indications or in very specific HEDS scenarios. For instance, if the patient has fixed painful joints that totally preclude positioning for a vaginal birth, or if there's a history of extreme tissue fragility suggesting extensive vaginal tearing and pelvic prolapse is highly likely. Of course, once the baby is delivered, the work isn't quite over. People with HEDS often experience delayed wound healing and complex scarring. To combat this, providers have to use a very precise suturing protocol. Step 1, handle all tissues extremely gently. Step 2, close any wounds without tension using long-lasting absorbable sutures. And step 3, apply additional surgical glue, especially on the abdominal wall for cesareans, because the skin is just so incredibly fragile. Wow, we've covered a ton of ground today, haven't we? From managing anesthetic resistance and incredibly fast labors to protecting fragile joints and gentle tissue handling. Remember, this knowledge is power. So whether you're an expectant parent or a healthcare provider, I want to leave you with this question. With this evidence-based playbook now in your hands, how will you advocate for yourself or transform your clinical practice to ensure a safe, truly empowering birth experience? Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and keep learning.